Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I'm the Last Wanderer, and today we've got Snapshot 22W11A, the first official snapshot of 1.19, experimental snapshots not included. And this snapshot is a big one. We've got tons of new blocks, new mobs, ported features from the experimental snapshots, and a bunch of new game mechanics. This snapshot even includes all of the new blocks from the upcoming Mangrove Swamp, though the new biome itself isn't here yet. So, let's check it out. First, there's the Deep Dark, which was ported over from the experimental snapshot. Not only was this biome ported over, but it's also been greatly improved. Scope patches, which were pretty small before, have now been significantly expanded, so they encompass a larger portion of the biome, bringing the dark to the deep dark. Though, the one thing to note is that the biome was only ported over, there's no warden yet, skulk shriekers don't work, and ancient cities, along with a new loot item of the swift sneaking enchantment, has not been added. Skulk catalysts and skulk sensors though do work. Now, let's get into some of the brand new features of the snapshot, starting with the blocks that make up Mangrove Trees. Mangrove Trees themselves don't generate in the snapshot, but we have all the blocks that make them up. First, Mangrove Trees have a lot in common with other trees, such as the fact that they have leaves, logs, strip logs, wood variants, planks, and even a boat. Mangrove wood is also a lot redder than it appeared in the Minecon Live video. Here's some crimson planks, for example, which are a reddish purple, and you can clearly see just how red they are when compared to these planks. Some things that make mangrove wood unique is that they have a new door and new trapdoors. And what really makes them unique is the fact that they have roots. These roots can also be waterlogged, and unlike other waterloggable blocks, the water doesn't spill out. This may or may not be intentional, it's not entirely clear, but one thing that definitely doesn't seem intentional is that right now you can power this transparent block. Mangrove Roots also have a mud version, which acts just like any other solid block. Something else that's unique to mangrove trees is the way their saplings generate. In order to get a mangrove sapling, you need to bone meal one of the mangrove leaves. This will give you the beginnings of a mangrove propagule, which you need to bone meal 4 more times to fully grow. Once it's fully grown, you can harvest it, which will give you the propagule, which is the mangrove sapling. These propagules can both be placed on land and underwater. Obviously, since there's a new farmable item in the game, I had to make a new farm design. And here's my design right here. It's pretty compact. And here's the design working. An important thing to know is that for every 5 bone meal you use, you'll always get 1 propagule in return. No bone meal is wasted. Here's the propagules trickling down into the chest. As you can see, it's decently fast. Let me explain how it works. First thing to know is this farm is fully automatic. Once you turn it on, no player interaction is required. You don't even need to be within random tick range, since this farm uses bone meal. It also does use a lot of bone meal, and will run out unless you hook up something like, say, a moss farm to it. So, how the farm works is it uses this simple observer clock here to continuously trigger the dispensers. Then we have a repeater on 2 ticks here, so every other trigger of the dispenser, it'll power this block, which will power this 0 tick generator right here. Since we want the piston to extend and then retract very quickly, so that every 4 activations, you'll get a new propagule. Here's a better view of the 0 tick generator, so I can explain in greater detail how it works. The first thing you'll notice is it functions as a T flip-flop. Every other activation of these powered rails will result in the sticky piston either spitting its block out or retracting it. Only when the sticky piston spits its block out will this piston over here fire, which is essential for our timing. Now this whole thing works because of powered rail update order. The power rail closest to the power source will always update first, which updates this observer here first, which powers this block, alerting this piston to extend its head. However, in the same tick, this observer is also updated, which powers the sticky piston, which, in the same game tick, starts pushing this block away, which tells this piston to immediately retract, resulting in the 0 tick. Without the 0 tick activation of this piston, this farm would be a lot slower. But if you wanted to make it faster, you could put more dispensers around where the Propagule will generate and fill them up with bone meal. If you have 4 of them in a pattern just like this, a single activation of all these dispensers will give you a fully grown Propagule. Though I don't know why you'd need a farm this fast, considering it's already fully automatic. And what can you do with these mangrove Propagules? Well, you can plant them and grow them into mangrove trees. Though, not yet. Currently, mangrove trees don't exist in the game, so for some reason you just get an oak tree, even if you plant them deep underwater. Yeah, a little bit weird, but I'm sure that'll be fixed with the addition of mangrove trees later. Next up, let's talk about the second big new mangrove swamp feature, mud. Mud is a lot like soul sand. Namely, it has the same height as soul sand, yet still counts as a solid block. As I walk between these 2 blocks, you can see I'm level. But if I walk onto these redstone lamps, I rise. And as you can see, I can power both of these blocks, and these redstone lamps will be powered too, making mud the second block after soul sand with this property. Unlike soul sand though, mud does not slow down my walking speed. To make mud, you can just take a dirt block here and use a water bottle on it to turn it into mud. You can also automate this with a dispenser, and not only can you do this to dirt, but you can also do it to coarse dirt and rooted dirt. You can also use mud in the crafting table for various recipes. If you combine mangrove roots and mud, you'll get the muddy mangrove roots, which I showed earlier. But you can also combine it with wheat in order to make packed mud. And this packed mud allows you to make other mud blocks in the crafting table, after you've converted into mud bricks though, such as the mud brick slabs, mud brick stairs, and mud brick wall. And these blocks have cool sounds and are just overall a generally useful building block. One feature of mud that hasn't been added yet is you can't yet use dripstone to convert it to clay, though I'm sure that'll be coming sometime soon in the future. Finally, let's get into our last big new swamp feature, frogs. Frogs can walk around, jump, and even swim. Frogs will also eat slimes, not the medium or large ones, just the small ones. And they'll always drop a slime ball if they eat a slime. Here this guy's eating the slimes up. And you can also use slime balls to breed frogs. Now when you breed a frog, you don't get a baby frog. Instead, frogs act a little bit like turtles, where one of them will go over to the water and lay frog spawn. Well, let's just see, is it this one here? Let's push him over to the water. Ah, it's the other one. If we just lure this guy over to the water, he'll lay some frog spawn. Come on, little guy. Come on. And there's the frog spawn. This frog spawn will eventually hatch into multiple tadpoles. Tadpoles can also be collected in a bucket to use later, but you can't collect a frog in a bucket, sadly. Tadpoles will also grow up into different types of frogs depending on which biome we are in. Here we've got an intersection of 3 biomes. Over here is a meadows, which is treated as a cold biome. This is a savanna, which is treated as a hot biome. And here's a plains, which is a moderately tempered biome. If I grow up each of these frogs, this one here will turn into an orange frog. This one over here will turn into a white frog. And this one will turn into a green frog. Each of these frogs will also give you a unique light source if you feed them a magma cube. I just give this guy some little magma cubes. These frogs will eat them. The green one gives the green verdant Froglight. The orange one gives the yellow ochre Froglight. This one will give us the purple pearlescent Froglight. Froglights are a very cool decorative light source that are kind of similar in texture to sea lanterns, though they have a lot of differences. For one thing, they have two different textures, the top and bottom ones and the side ones. And yes, these blocks are rotational, so that makes them extra useful. And I'm sure they're going to see a lot of use in builds. With such cool new blocks, I just had to make a farm for them. And luckily, there's an easy way just to do that. If you find a treasure room bastion in the nether, inside there's always a single magma cube spawner. And using that spawner, we can make our farm. Here's the farm here. If I just wait a little bit, this magma cube spawner will spawn some magma cubes. These magma cubes will be attracted to this iron golem over here. They'll run over to him, and they'll fall in this powder snow. I also have a decent drop here, just so that they get out of the range of the spawner. Once the magma cubes are in the powder snow, there's no way for them to escape, unless of course the iron golem knocks them out. However, he can't hit the little guys out, so that's not too much of a problem. In here, they'll freeze and die. Now, magma cubes are one of the few fire mobs that'll take extra damage in powder snow. Namely, they'll take 5 times the amount of damage, which means that powder snow, while slow at killing most mobs, is actually a decently fast way of killing magma cubes. Inside, these magma cubes will die in the powder snow. The medium ones and the big ones are too big to fall down, but the little ones will. Down here, we've got our frogs. I just have 2 of each type, so I can get all the Froglights. You can find the Froglights in here. It'll also produce a decent amount of magma cream. Now, this farm works because medium-sized magma cubes are just slightly larger than a block, so their hitbox remains in the powder snow. And even if they jump, they can't get out. Big magma cubes could jump out of the powder snow if it wasn't for the fact that the powder snow actively stops them from jumping out. Now, in order to make sure that none of these magma cubes can get loose, I did use 27 powder snow, with only the exception on the edges here of leaving out the powder snow. But, as you can see, all these big magma cubes are too big to fall down, but the little ones here are small enough to just fall down and be eaten by the frogs. Also, the little ones can jump into the powder snow, but they'll never be in the powder snow long enough to die from it. That means that every single little magma cube that falls down will always be eaten by a frog. I also use honey blocks here because it's not a full block, so hoppers can pick up items that land on them. If I can just get this block on top to demonstrate. And it'll also prevent the frogs from jumping up and jumping into the powder snow. I hope you enjoyed these farms, but I won't be making tutorials on them just yet in case the mechanics change within the snapshots. And I'm sure these snapshots will be adding a bunch of new features. We already have a few more that are promised, though most of the promised features have already made it in the game. So, I guess it's just secret features left, as well as mangrove swamps, mangrove trees, and the warden and ancient cities to be fully implemented. That's all I've got for now though, so thank you all so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to let me know in the comments section. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and goodbye. Since you're still here, here's a free bug. Listen closely.